Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a driving comparison between the Hyundai Elantra N, the Hyundai Kona N, and the Hyundai Veloster N to figure out which N car is the best. But before we get in this video, a huge shout out and thank you to the Murdoch Hyundai here in Linden, Utah for giving me some time with all three of these cars. All three of these are available for sale, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their inventory in the description down below. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Spencer. And with that being said, let's dive right into it. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off here in the Veloster. Here's visibility of the hood, both the mirrors, which you can do a blind spot monitoring, and then throughout the rest of the rear. I have a feeling this one's gonna have the worst visibility. But anyways, let us set off. So we're gonna start off with the Veloster, then go to the Kona, and then go to the Elantra. The only reason why I'm doing it in that order is because I have to film a review with the Elantra. And so it'll be easiest if I do that one last because I can get these other two parked. But aside from me talking about channel logistics, let's talk about how this car drives. So something to note is being front wheel drive. It definitely does some weird things at low speed. With all of them do the same thing with the steering wheel, especially when you like crank it all the way, it like kind of chirps a little bit. It's just the thing that these front wheel drive performance cars do. Now suspension on this is pretty firm. We're not in sport mode or anything like that. Definitely tell us his performance setup. Do like the steering a lot though. Transmission's very responsive, and they all have 8-speed dual clutches, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any difference in terms of the transmission response, but I feel like it should feel the same between all the cars. This one though, not having the non-grin shift, could have the least responsive, you know, in terms of like all-out performance, because you can't do that non-grin shift function. Decent amount of road noise with this. Yeah, I feel like the cabin insulation on this, they weren't too concerned about it. It's not like horrible, but you can hear quite a bit with the road. Yeah, it's crazy that like how much difference like this feels compared to, and I mean, I haven't even driven the other two yet, but like just that Ford was about to run the stop sign. What is with people? Yeah, it's you can just tell right away. Let's not go through that little pothole. Yeah, I really do like the transmission response. I think they've done a great job with that. So we're gonna pop it into sport mode. I wanna see how the manual shifts feel different in this. I mean, this transmission's extremely responsive. So they've done a fantastic job with transmission response. Yeah, it's, I mean, this is fun. Yeah, it's like pretty much instant. Pretty much instant. That is very solid. Brakes feel good too. And again, this is a pre-owned car with like just under 10,000 miles, so it's not really going to have enough wear and tear to affect anything in terms of like the performance. But and the transmission is not annoying at low speeds. Let's pop it into the N mode now. Let's see how that feels. Very, very responsive with the transmission. Really good torque out of the powertrain. I think the thing that'll be most interesting for me is to see if I can actually perceive an acceleration difference between this and the other two, because this should, in theory, feel weaker because it has less horsepower and less torque compared to the other two. And that transmission's so responsive. In Mexico here at the Veloster. Got the shift lights. Oh, this thing's fast. This thing is fast. Okay, well, returning from Mexico here. Oh man, and it sounds really good when you're like under harder acceleration. It sounds really good. Now we're gonna use this roundabout as kind of like a handling thing, just to see the steering and the handling on it. Yeah, it feels like it's on rails pretty much. Yeah, it handles really well. Man, it'll be interesting to see how this drives compared to the other two, but I mean, in terms of like just fun, that's fun. Like, this is a fun car to drive. It handles really well. It's, you know, it's actually pretty smooth over bumps and everything. Like, you feel it, like it's a stiffer car. I don't want to like pretend like this is a luxury car. It's a stiffer car, but like it doesn't come unhinged. Like, it doesn't pop all over the place. So they've done a really good job with the suspension tuning with this. Okay, so now in the Kona N, visibility over the hood, both the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And, well, let's set off. First off, I want to say that I feel like I am a lot higher off the ground, which is crazy because the Kona is not really super high off the ground to start off with, honestly. It's pretty low for whatever you, CUV, whatever you want to call it. And so the fact that like I feel like I'm a lot taller compared to the other cars, I think just shows how low those other cars are to the ground. I think it definitely does. But first off, seat comfort in this, I would say, is slightly better compared to the Veloster. Not a ton, but I think it's slightly better. I will say though, I do like the bolsters in the Veloster though a little bit more. Like, I feel like they hug you better. This feels like, I don't know, again, more of like a crossover type. It's aggressive crossover type seat, but more of a crossover type seat. Now, the thing that's interesting is this actually feels almost like stiffer than the Veloster. Huh. I mean, they did have to do quite a bit to make a Kona handle well, and that might be the fact why, or that might be the reason why this feels so stiff. But yeah, it doesn't feel quite as, it's not like the I mean, like I said, the Veloster is a stiffer, sportier car, but this like feels really pretty stiff. Transmission's really responsive. Except it seems like it's smooth. The Veloster, like, seems like they've tuned that to, like, this still shifts really quick, but I don't feel it as much as the Veloster. Seems like they tried to like make this more daily drivable, which is interesting. Interesting play there. But yeah, it's like it feels like a little bit stiffer, actually. I wonder if that too could be just because the overall, well, no, they're all pretty similar in terms of size. It's not a huge difference there. We're gonna avoid that pothole yet again. It's a little one, it'd be fine, but not my car. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely stiffer. That is interesting. So we'll pop it into sport, so it'll get a little bit more aggressive. Pop into manual mode. Yeah, I feel like the transmission is just as responsive. Yes, I understand it's winter time, Kona. I understand. Doesn't feel any faster though. Oh man, yeah, this is so much stiffer. Craziness. Gonna pop it into the N mode. Love the gauge cluster changes. Ooh, those pops are cool. Let me tell you. I think this one sounds better than the Veloster though. It feels a little bit torquier. You can definitely feel the torque difference. So that is perceivable. Yeah, I know I keep talking about how stiff this is, but like that's what I'm noticing more than anything else, is that this just feels quite a bit more. Okay, Mexico non-grin shift. I think that shows that this has more torque, because it definitely wheel hopped a lot harder than the Veloster. Yeah, when you're in that non-grin shift, I mean, the shift speeds with this are just so snappy. But yeah, the suspension on this is harsh. That is something super interesting to me. Now, we'll use the roundabout again to kind of see the handling on this versus what we saw with the Veloster. It feels a little bit, it handles really well for what it is, but you definitely can tell that it feels a little bit more top heavy. So that's perceivable. So yeah, I mean, kind of expected. And you know, what I want to say before I get into the Veloster is, I think that some of, obviously the stiff suspension is not gonna be fixed by this, but I think some of the drivability things with this could be fixed by making it all-wheel drive. It puts on power pretty well, but that wheel hop was pretty aggressive. And if this was all-wheel drive, well, I don't think that it would be a problem. Let's talk about visibility before we set off here in the Elantra N. Here's the visibility of the hood, both the mirrors, do a blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And, well, let us set off. This is a great day. Super appreciative that I've been able to drive all three of these cars. And something that I do want to mention is, just because of time constraints, I am going to be using the driving impressions from this Elantra point of view for my Elantra N review and for the driving comparison review. So I just had to get my seat adjusted there. But anyways, this one is by far the most comfortable when it comes to the suspension. More comfortable than the Kona, more comfortable than the Veloster's close, but this is more comfortable than the Veloster as well. So we are winning on that front. Transmission feels about the same, which is expected. Man, this is like a luxury car compared to the other two, honestly. Steering feels kind of a little bit lighter. Seat comfort with this. I think the seats are just as comfortable in this as they are in the Kona, maybe a little bit firmer, but they're more buckety, just like the Veloster seats, so they hold you in place really well. Brakes are really good on this too. Man, people always going over that line. I always pay attention to when people stop at a stop sign, and I notice that people always go over the line, which is funny. Yeah, transmission's so responsive in this. Yeah, I mean, the ride quality on this is so much better than the Kona, and it's even better than the Veloster. Let's pop it into Sport. That's a cool wrap on that Tesla. Transmission's super responsive. Exhaust sounds really good. That is a fun sound out of the back. Gotta love these Zen cars. Yeah, here's the thing is, the sport mode with this is like as comfortable as like the comfort mode in the Kona. That just shows you how firm that freaking Kona is. Yeah, I love the transmission response. They've done such a good job with this one. Yeah, super responsive. We'll pop it into the N mode now, so everything will get mega aggressive. I feel like this exhaust pops more than the other two for some reason. I don't know why, but it just feels like it. Okay, Mexico with the Elantra. Oh man, this one puts down the power way better than the other two. Holy guacamole. And the exhaust on this one too, I feel like it does more pops and bangs. Oh man, this is such a fun car. And I can only imagine this with a manual transmission. Okay, let's see the handling. Handling. Whew. Man, the Elantra N. This thing is super underrated. This thing is super, and everyone's looking at Honda Civic Type R, Volkswagen Golf R, Elantra N. Stop sleeping on this car. Okay, so just got back from my drive with the Elantra N, and here's the deal. With the driving comparison, the Elantra N also wins. So not only does this win the walk-around comparison with its practicality, but it also wins a driving comparison. It's more comfortable than the other two. I think that it looks better than the other two, and it drives substantially better. It has so much stability. It has more stability than the other two, and it seems like it puts down the power better. Like, there's a lot less wheel hop with this one, especially compared to the Kona, and it just drives better. It seriously does. So yeah, if you're gonna buy an, I feel so annoyed at myself for saying this, because like, it's so hard to get Elantra Ns. Like, Kona Ns, I mean, there's pretty decent availability with those. But Elantra Ns, it's like, you gotta get on a waiting list, and it's like, well, there's a reason why you gotta get on a waiting list. It's the best N car, and you can get it with a manual too. So yeah, let me know which one you guys would choose, but my choice after driving all three back-to-back is Elantra N. A huge shout out and thank you to the Murdoch Hyundai here in Linden for giving me some time with all three of them. Like I said, check out their info in the description down below. I'll see ya.